the Welcome Wagon, a special episode of the Welcome Wagon, because I'm no longer with Maya Samuelson, my co-host. She's away. And I'm joined, well, what word could we have? We always have one word we riff on. Glass. Because I'm joined by Maximilian Riedel.
Yes, the glassmaker from Austria.
The glassmaker from Austria. I was going to call you the Pope of glassmaking, but
I leave this up to my dad.
Your father. And you are, I think this is right, you're the first time I've met somebody who's truly a Bohemian. Because you're from Bohemia.
Originally. We were Sudeten Germans up until 1945, when after the war, the family was kicked out. Imagine. We are now in business 270 years, so there was about a 10-year disconnect of producing our own glass until we restarted in Tyrol, Austria.
Now, how important, I know you're going to tell me it's very important, but how important is the glass to a drinker? Not just wine, but...
Well, I would say it is the instrument, it's the messenger. And if you want to enjoy wine, spirits, or any other beverage at its best, people never think about the messenger, which is the wine glass or the spirit or cocktail glass. And of course, this is my business. And I'm being the 11th generation, making us the oldest glass producer in the world. And since 3 generations, we are very much dedicated to the world of beverages. I think it makes all the difference.
Is that, I mean, I'm a behavioural scientist in my spare time, if you like.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes the context in which we present particular drinks makes a huge difference. And I don't think it's just imaginary, it helps us. But, I mean, you've also done lots of work that objectively the right glass is making the thing taste better or different.
Well, sadly, a lot of people buy glasses due to aesthetics. And we did that too, up until the 1970s, when my grandfather took this amazing decision and said, I'm dedicating my life to research. What can a glass do to celebrate wine? So he was the first ever person to work in this direction. And he launched in 1973 the first gourmet wine glass collection called Sommelier, which is still on the market now. And when my father joined the company that same year, he was the first to actually travel the world of wine, meet the winemakers, and he always describes it to me in this way, that there are 2 people that truly influenced my father on the cause of crafting grape-specific glasses, and that's Robert Mondavi and Angelo Gaja. And I think whoever is into wine or sooner or later will stumble over those 2 names because they were the greatest wine influencers of the past and still in modern times in history.
And when you talk about this thing of travelling around the world, it reminds me, because Robert Mondavi was a great traveller around
Ambassador,
the world.
yeah.
So I'm thinking of people like Robert Mondavi, Miguel Torres, but even in history, people like Champagne Charles Heidsieck, who sort of travelled around.
Sure.
So he was, this is your father?
My father, George Riedel, yes.
So he's the one who's travelling around and...
Yes, connecting. And it was Angelo Gaja who took him by the hand and said, if you want to do something for us, winemakers, and the world of wine, let me take you to the vineyard. He said, because wine is made only there. And wine is all about grape varieties. So think about it, good? We don't need pretty glasses. We need glasses that communicate the essence of every fruit. And this inspired my father to do the research that has paved the way for modern wine glasses around the world. Us being the original and everybody else, sorry to say, is a copy.
And how many different glasses do you make? I mean, we're in this room and I'm surrounded by an inordinately large number.
Yeah.
Do you know how many different glasses you produce?
I know exactly. We have about 1,420 SKUs, which means that some of them duplicate because we package certain glasses in different ways. Yeah. But it's my world, you know, and you can never have enough glassware.
Do you keep them all at home? Do you have something of everything?
Of course not. But I change, you know. People do that frequently when they think about their sports gear. Every year they need to have the latest pair of ski or golf club or tennis racket. And when it comes to glasses, I stick to the collection I have since 30 years. Well, that's wrong. Because wine has evolved, winemaking. The alcohol in wine, sadly, has significantly increased. So the glasses that maybe you bought in the 80s and 90s wake-up call are outdated because they can't cater anymore to modern wine styles.
And how has that changed presumably the shape or the size of the glass, climate change?
All of that.
It's changed it all.
But there is also fashion in my world, which is the world of glass. I would say since about 10 years, consumers think the thinner, the lighter, the better. But the weight has no impact on how we smell and taste wine. So it's a fashion which my grandfather started in the 1960s with something called straw glass. It was then immediately stopped because consumers and restaurants said it's too thin. I just look at the glasses and they break. But modern restaurants know how to deal with these modern wine glasses. And so nobody complains anymore about breakage.
You don't only obviously make glasses, when you make glass, other glass, and we have this extraordinary decanter here. Mm-hmm. This is the thing that in many ways I don't know whether it's the algorithm, but I'm endlessly being sent videos on Instagram, and obviously I follow the account, of people making these. And I mean, you must be among the sort of pioneers really in these extraordinary fluted, beautiful decanters. But I mean, that's a real craftsman thing to make that.
So my father, that's where it starts, sent me off to Venice, Murano, Italy, at the age of 16 to learn, besides the school, how to make Venetian glass. And this inspired me, and the result are these beautiful decanters, which to date only us humans can craft and shape. It's art. Good. So it's like a Picasso on the wall. You can't do anything about it, but a Riedel decanter on the table is art that you actually can put to great use because it helps your wine enjoyment. And so this is what I'm most proud about. I operate many factories. People forget this when they follow me on Instagram or whatever. They think I'm just a marketing guy, but I own many factories in Germany and in Austria. So I know everything about glass. And this puts us in a great advantage. What puts me in a disadvantage is that people want to do home office. And when you work in a factory, home office does not exist. And that's why it's a dying breed.
It does seem to fit into a sort of world of genuine luxury. I mean, luxury's been a bandied term, but I think my friend Dan, who runs Purdy shotguns, made in a factory.
Yes,
and people who make clothes properly in a factory, and you belong to a class of true luxury brands. It's not just a fancy name and, if you like, lots of ads and big price tickets. This presumably it takes a long time to learn to make a lot of these things.
Yeah. And as I said, it's a dying breed because glass maker is no longer a job, an official title in Germany, Austria, and other countries, because there is no more education, there is no more training, there is no more public support on the job of a glassmaker. And that's one of the main reasons why it's a dying breed.
Are you having to essentially fill that gap yourself to go and...
We did, as long as people wanted to become glassmakers. And we have people working for us in Austria in the third or even fourth generation. But if you ask them, where will your kids end up? Well, they all go to university and they want to become doctors and lawyers. So it is so sad in the center, in the heart of Europe. That's where Austria is based. But I'm not only talking about Austria, I'm talking about Europe. As a manufacturer, it's the wrong time and it's the wrong place.
And it's such a pity because they bring us huge amounts of joy.
Yeah, but people don't want to pay the price what handmade costs. Unless you talk about fancy car brands, watch brands and fashion brands. But besides that, people in Europe or all over the world are no longer willing to pay the price what it costs me to locally produce the product.
Now, this is where I'm going to put my hand up, and I'm sure, I know that Maya Samuelson, she does a lot of work with you. What can people like us do to essentially support this industry? I mean, it's as important to us as old vineyards and...
Well, our product is not only design, it's not fashion, it will never go out of fashion. Our products are tools that never go out of fashion. Because if you love wine and you love Riesling or you love Chardonnay or Pinot Noir or any other grape variety that suits you best, you should invest at least once in your life in the proper stemware. And if you are at a certain level where you think that you want something very unique and special, then Handmade is the answer. And I'm one of the very few last standing companies that offer both handmade, traditional, classic, and machine-made, where obviously it's all about timing and money.
It's interesting stuff, isn't it? Can I open a bottle of wine and talk about what glasses do? I've got here, I mean, these are 3 of your glasses. You'll know them, I suspect, better than me.
Well, you know what? I know them better than you, of course. They're my babies. But I did something for you, the consumer. Look what's written on the base.
Well, it makes. I'm going to put my spectacles on, and it says Cabernet Sauvignon. I can see that from here.
So we're the first one who also even help by putting the grape variety on the base of certain collections. This is Riedel Veloce. This is the very first grape variety specific glass that is made on a machine that we developed ourselves. So it looks, feels, and performs like a handmade. And not even a glassmaker could tell the difference anymore. That's where I have to be, because sooner or later, there will be no more glass makers, and it's technology that will produce the glasses for us.
That's fascinating. So that is for, in what sense is this a Cabernet Sauvignon glass? What makes it that?
Well, it's all about taste, trial and error, and it's about the DNA of the fruit. So Cabernet Sauvignon, I would categorize under thick-skinned red fruit. And I would say all of the 800 plus grape varieties that are red and out of which we make wine, I can put them into 3 categories. And they're all determined by the thickness of the skin of the fruit. So we have thin-skinned red fruit, typical Pinot Noir, Nebbiolo, Gamay, just to mention a few. Medium thick-skinned fruit, which is about 80% of all the red fruit, starting with Syrah Shiraz, Eremitage, Blaufränkisch from Austria, Sangiovese from Italy, and hundreds more. And then you have the thick-skinned fruit. This is your Cabernet Sauvignon. This is your Merlot. This is your Petit Verdot. These are the typical red fruits from Bordeaux that you would put into this glass. And the difference lies in tannins and minerality.
I bought a Pinot Noir, but it's a Pinot Noir slightly with a difference. This is from Chile, and not only, this is from Limarí, so right up in so Amelia Pinot Noir, if anybody's watching, from the northern end of Chile. And I slightly bought this because many of your glasses, I think of them in very traditional European terms. You know, Cabernet Sauvignon, then I would think, oh, well, it's going to be Bordeaux, and so on. It's absolutely, we're going to sort these out. We've got the 3 here. This is a Pinot Noir from a sort of new place. Do you have to try wines from new places and go?
All the time. And I'm so happy about it because I support the young wine industry. I support regions such as English sparkling wine and things like that, because I'm a fan of it. I like to mix it up. I don't want to always drink the same or benefit from the same fruit. And it also helps my work, of course. I mean, when youngsters or newbies come to the market, they want to explore, and my job is to meet them at the right time, introduce them to my philosophy and my concept, because it might help them, you know.
And how often do you come across a wine where you go, actually, we might need a new glass here. This is something that's really quite distinctive and different and...
Happens now very rarely. I would say 10 years ago, we were like Christopher Columbus. We were sailing off, trying new fruits from around the world. New markets emerged. Traditional markets finally came forward, such as the market of Georgia, the country of Georgia, with the grape variety Saperavi, which I think a lot of people sooner or later will hear about, because it's a very resistant fruit. And when we talk about global warming, it has an impact on how wines are being made, of course. And when you have a fruit that has a skin thickness and a resistance to the fruit, which is not always weather dependent, then this could be the answer to many of the problems.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, talk me through. So I've put it in these 3 glasses. One of them, this feels like a white wine glass.
It's actually a champagne glass.
This is a champagne glass.
That was my first crusade. That's my interpretation on how to enjoy champagne.
So you are definitely not a coupe man and not really a flute man either.
I like to break with tradition, being the most traditional glass company in the world. Yes.
So we've got a champagne glass, then we have a Cabernet Sauvignon glass and in the end, a Pinot Noir glass, which should be the one that makes it work best. And you do, I mean, I've sat with you do these extraordinary things where you take people through these wines and you show the dramatic impact it has.
Like we're doing it tonight, and like I did yesterday in front of 300 people, tonight 300 people, tomorrow 300 people. So I personally educate people on the function and the necessity of a wine glass. 10,000 people a year, easily.
Now I'm going to tell you, if that's okay, in this champagne glass.
Before we go there, what you're just doing is what I try to motivate people from around the world to do on their own. You don't need to upfront invest in my glasses. I suggest that people just grab different vessels and pour a wine into them to just see what the shape, the design, not the decor, can do to convey the message of wine. It can be such a difference that you would not recognize it on the nose, on the palate. And when I talk about my palate, people always think about taste. It's also about mouthfeel. It's about texture. It's about weight, viscosity, and all of that makes you either like a wine or dislike a wine. And when you dislike the wine, people start to blame. Is the vintage off? Is the producer not good? Is the temperature bad? Is the sommelier not knowing his job? But they never question the wine glass. Boom. That's where I want the people wake up and say, before I say the wine is not good, or whoever judged the wine and only gave it a certain amount of points, try it yourself in the proper glass. It can make all the difference.
Well, I'm going to say that does make a difference. And I'm sure there'll probably be scientists who'll say, well, it's not hardly double blind, but in a champagne glass, it's just not very expressive. It's quite muted. It's very quiet. Then, this is my take, in a Cabernet Sauvignon glass, it's hot. And it suddenly becomes it's slightly overwhelmed by, I suppose, essentially alcohol and so on. And it's got a sort of dustiness to it. The wine feels much more complete in a Pinot Noir glass. And this is only me smelling it. I haven't got onto texture at all.
So first of all, I need to confirm what you're saying about the alcohol. That's why sometimes I have a challenging time with wines from the south. When I say south, I mean New World, Latin America, because due to weather condition, due to food and whatever the wine is being made for, they tend to come with higher levels of alcohol. What are we having here? So
14.
It says on the label 14, so it has 14.5 minimum. Yeah. And this is quite standard nowadays, but for me, it's a lot. And this is where the wine industry is coming back to, because people like yourself and myself, we demand wines with lower alcohol. They can be made, they can be done. It's not to be blamed on global warming, it's just the winemaker's choice. What are you losing when you don't focus too much on the concentration? Mm-hmm. Interesting question. So I agree with you and your assessment. So we have here the 3 glasses, and the smaller, the champagne wine glass that looks like a white wine glass, very much focuses the wine, brings forward more the secondary aromas, much more structure, much more minerality, and yes, the heat, the alcohol, that's the sign. Then we have the Cabernet glass, which is for many people, the standard red wine glass. Standard red wine glass does not exist, but that's how it's being sold.
Yeah.
And here it's more on the vegetable note, I have to say. You don't get the red fruits, you don't get the red berries. You get heat, again, interesting enough. You're losing the sweetness, you're losing the fruit, and then you have it in the Pinot Noir glass. And here it starts to convey the sweetness, the sugar component, the fruitiness. What people don't talk about, and this is very surprising to me, maybe they don't know, is the yeast. Yeast in winemaking process is as important as the fruit, because wine is the combination of yeast and fruit. And here I get little of the yeasty component. And when I go to the champagne glass or the Cabernet glass, I get much more of the yeasty composition than the fruit. And we're only talking about the nose.
Yes, we've not talked about texture.
We're not talking about texture, weight, nothing, no mouthfeel. So interesting is, if you would tilt each glass away from you, all the way until the wine meets the rim, and you look from the top down, you see actually why and how the glass works. Because this champagne wine glass makes the wine flow very focused, which means you will always have champagne at the tip of your tongue, which is necessary because champagne comes with additional acidity due to the effervescence. Bingo. So when people say a Blanc de Blanc, 100% Chardonnay-based champagne should be in the Chardonnay glass, I have to say, sadly, that's wrong. Because the Chardonnay glass, which has a very wide opening, which we don't have here today, will convey too much of the acidity. The Pinot Noir glass, and if you would Google the fruit Pinot Noir, it is described as high unbalanced acidity. Also here we have a fairly narrow rim diameter, once again to bring the wine at the tip of your tongue first. Focusing on the fruit, balancing this kind of acidity which is natural to Pinot Noir. And actually the glass is shaped so that when you drink from it, if I tell you, you say, I agree. If I wouldn't tell you, you wouldn't notice it. You're actually making skin contact. This is the only glass, the Pinot Noir glass, where the tip of your tongue touches the rim before you drink it. So you're French kissing the glass. Making sure that Pinot Noir always ends up at the tip of your tongue first to balance the acidity, the minerality of the grape variety. Very different to the Cabernet glass, which once again is very wide and open, and therefore the message will be differently conveyed.
I have to confess, I am one of those people who's probably naturally something of a skeptic, and thought, well, it's one of those things. It's all in the mind. That said, these are the glasses I use at home, and it does make a difference. I'm always fascinated because the champagne glass feels very much like the sort of glasses I often get given at. I've just been to a tasting.
Yeah.
And this was essentially the glass. And sometimes you come away, I came away certainly from that tasting where all of the wines had a kind of leanness about them. None of them felt particularly generous. And I'm now wondering, well, maybe we just tasted all of them out of the wrong glass, really. It was
That's why I don't trust in wine ratings anymore. Good. Those times in Italian we would say tempi passati, because I am the glass supplier to the biggest wine fairs in the world, starting with Wine Paris, followed by Pro Wine. Which other ones could you mention? Vin Italy, but also local wine fairs. And there it's not so much about the shape of the glass supporting, it's all about logistics.
Yeah.
And logistics kills. In this sense, how people smell and taste wine, because everybody wants to use one glass. It has to be a small glass because it has to fit on a tray. It's easier to deliver and all these kind of things. But at the end, the result is people misunderstand the message of your wine. So if I would be a winery and I would go to these trade tastings, I would be very careful about which glasses are being used. In particular, when I am a Chardonnay producer, a Pinot Noir producer, where the shape of a glass makes all the difference. It's not changing the quality of the wine. It can't. The wine is made, but the way how it conveys it, So this is where I say cautious about who tasted the wine and who judged the wine. Be your own judge.
It's interesting. Now, can I do a slight switch? We've tried these and I'd love to come back to wine, but I want to talk about wine influencers, because you are, as it happens, one of the world's more interesting wine influencers. You have, 300 and something thousand followers?
No, I'm actually one of the largest wine influencers in the world, at least in the world of social media.
Yeah.
With over 630,000.
630,000. Great, my numbers are out.
Yeah. But I'm not trying to influence on what people drink.
No.
I'm trying to influence on how people drink. Because what people don't realize is I'm a glassmaker, and my job is, of course, to convey the message based on what I drink and how I enjoy the wines, always in combination with the proper messenger, which means the proper glass. Every bottle of wine comes with a budget. Every bottle of wine is an investment. And wine is getting more and more expensive. So why should I not do everything I can to get the most out of this enjoyment? And for that you need the messenger, the wine glass. It's like the game of golf. You cannot show up to the game of golf, play 18 holes with one club. People will laugh at you. you won't win the game. You need for every situation in the world of golf a club to play the ball. The same as when you are a skier. When you are a runner, you need to invest in gear to be the best in the game. It's the same with wine.
Now, you must get amazing feedback from
All
600,000
That's why
followers.
I'm doing it. And I'm answering all the messages myself.
And what sort of things do people tell you? Are you sometimes surprised at the views that people have or the responses? I mean, it must be a really interesting insight into the wine drinker of today. I mean, how it's changed and so on.
Well, the first thing I want to say is every company in the world is fighting for the youngsters, the new people coming to the world of whatever their business is. And I'm very lucky because social media speaks exactly to these people. So I realized this over 10 years ago. So it's not that I started my Instagram now and now I have 600,000 followers. No, it took me 10 years to get to this point. And I'm having fun with it. And the feedback I'm getting makes me the most successful glass company in the world right now. It's not my marketing. It's not my whatever AI team. It is the direct feedback from the consumer. Male, female, young, advanced, new to wine, never had wine. I got introduced to wine thanks to Riedel. All these kind of comments I get. And then, of course, how to wash your glasses. What should I invest next? What is your glass made out of? Is it safe for children to drink from it? So all these kind of things, which I'm soaking up like a sponge, and I'm telling my people. This is what the people ask me. So I'm not putting something finished in front of the customer, eat or die. I am now learning from the feedback of my customers, and it's worth everything I do.
That's so interesting you should say this. I always think that people sometimes miss the power of social media, which is not broadcasting out.
No.
It's listening
Yes.
the other way. Much as you are the king of the large format bottle on some posts. Sunday Fun Day.
Thank you. That's a first. Somebody called me that. But I agree with you. So large format bottles, a lot of people invest in as trophies for the wine cellars. Large format bottles come with an extra upcharge, but for example, at auctions, they are always the least expensive because people don't know what to do with them. Mm. And I love to host people. I love to entertain people. That's part of my job. And I love to open these bottles. It's always a showstopper. It's always a wow momentum. And you're always, so far, lucky with the condition because you have, in an imperial, 8 bottles of wine and only 1 cork. So the idea of a corked bottle becomes very much reduced.
It must be. I mean, you do have an extraordinary cellar because you're a wine lover as well as a...
Yes, I'm a wine collector, and I got this kind of infection from my father, if I may call it so. He has a great cellar. He has an amazing collection. And he inspired me for many things, in particular also on how I taste wine and how I appreciate wine. And also what I collect. So I was living in America for 15 years. And on the way, when I moved back, because I was invited by my dad to take over the company in 2013, I got stuck at the border with 3,000 bottles of wine, not in my suitcase, but in a container. So that's how I started my collection, by collecting wines in North America, not only American wines from all over the world. And when people ask me, how big is your collection? Honestly, I never counted.
It's interesting. Now, I don't want to keep you too long. You've been very, very generous with you, but I do want to tackle one of the great hot topics in wine. It's the question of the stem. Because am I right, you...
invented the stemless.
You invented
Yes.
the stemless wine glass, which
Yes.
some people may say is a marvellous thing. Other people will look on with horror. And I mean, your father wasn't a fan.
No, my father was the biggest fan. That's why it went into production.
Oh, he was a fan, that's
My
it.
grandfather, who invented the modern wine glass with a long stem, he was not really keen of it. But it became overnight a huge success, and success can be measured by how many you sell, but also how many times you get copied. And I think there's not a single glass company in the world that did not copy my concept of a stemless glass. And it's still popular 20 years later, and I'm still using it, but it's not meant to be your everyday wine glass. It is meant for certain occasions. And it's definitely the only wine glass I would use in the morning to drink my orange juice from. So it's a multi-purpose. The idea was born by me living in New York, not having any space to store anything. So you could stack the stemless glasses. I could host parties because I had space for stemless glasses. I could drink milk in the morning, wine in the afternoon, and maybe a cocktail in the evening out of the same shaped glass. So became my friend, you know, and I don't want to miss him.
And there's this sort of adjacent point. A great friend of mine, Barry Dick, a wonderful master of wine, created a brand a few years ago called Bowl Grabber, which sort of latched onto this idea that you're not really meant to hold the glass by the bowl, you're meant to hold it by the stem. And I know I've had a somewhat ironic hashtag of stem watch when I've caught celebrities holding by the bowl. Do you take a position on this, or are you very diplomatic about bowl grabbing?
Well, my grandfather was very upset about it. That's why he said, I don't know how much longer I should pull the stems of my glasses for people to get the message.
I'm with your grandfather, that's it.
You know, glasses don't sound anymore like they used to, because we all took the lead out of the lead crystal. And that's where everything for me changed, because the beauty of not holding a glass by the bowl was the brilliant sound, besides greasy fingers and warming up the wine and all these kind of excuses. But since the sound has changed so dramatically, I'm less keen on it.
It's interesting stuff. How is it going to change? Climate change is going to continue, I suspect, to have an impact on
everything.
I suspect craftsmanship
is coming to an end.
Luxury remains, but maybe it becomes incredibly...
Will be determined differently, I think.
Yeah. Can you imagine what a glass company, Riedel of the future, looks like? It's 270 years since it began.
Well, I tell you one thing. I was very happy when Captain Kirk, on the ship Enterprise, Starship Enterprise, in 1,000 years from now, was flying through my TV screen, and he still had wine in a crystal decanter. That's where I want to end up. Good, in 1,000 years from now, people still enjoying a glass of wine when time permits out of a Riedel glass.
That will be it. I will toast you on Mars with a Riedel glass.
Maximilian, cheers to wine made on Mars.
Absolutely. Cheers, Maximilian.
Cheers to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.